And Apollo 13, they deliberately crashed the third stage of Apollo 13 into the surface of the moon to carry out a test to see whether this was a repeatable phenomenon, right? And this time, the seismograph not only confirmed the resonance passing through a hollow object, but the moon rang like a bell for 3 hours inside the moon.
There was a recent NASA article that came out, I think it was on the NASA website, where they said they discovered caves, like underground caverns in the moon, which would suggest that it was like maybe like a honeycomb structure on the inside or something like that.
Envelopes are the photographs that the Viking probe took on Mars in 1976, where we got back these images of the pyramids and the fort and the face, infamously, right? So there are all these apparent man-made megalithic structures in the Cydonia region of Mars, with long dead. I'm seeing, the ruins of a civilization that once was eons before this. And he was tasked at 1 million BC. And he was looking at isotopic data from Mars. So, every planet has, certain amount of isotopes of different materials and metals and so forth on it.
Right.
And apparently the isotopic ratio of xenon-129 is consistent across the entire solar system, except for on Mars and our thermonuclear test sites on Earth. There's a deviation from the norm of the isotopic signature of xenon-129 at our thermonuclear test sites on Earth. And we find the same thing at Cydonia on Mars.
Why is it different on nuclear test sites?
There's something happens when, and it has to be not an atomic bomb, but a thermonuclear bomb. When a thermonuclear bomb is detonated, that leaves a trace of xenon-129 in that area, which is not the normal, basically, distribution of that isotope that you would find, on Earth or on any of the other rocky bodies in the solar system.
Okay.
And according to Brandenburg, it's a very distinct signature. It's unmistakable, and it's very specifically associated with thermonuclear weapons detonation. Then, after he discussed this with one of the scientists at Sandia Labs, whose expertise is working on nuclear weapons, he checked for other isotopes, and he saw that the isotopes of the isotopic ratio of thorium and uranium was also off at Cydonia in a way that matched thermonuclear test sites. It turns out that in a pharmaceutical laboratory, when you try to crystallize a compound for the first time to make a drug, let's say, right? The first time you try to crystallize a chemical compound, it takes a very long time to cohere. It's very hit and miss and takes a long time to cohere, to crystallize. The second time you try to synthesize that compound in a completely different laboratory, let's say on the other side of the planet, it forms instantly. Much faster.
Yeah.
So it's as if when something works and takes shape in a certain way for the first time, something about the world remembers that it works that way. And so the second time it's attempted, it takes that shape much more quickly. It's a resonance of form across space and time, irrespective of space and time. And there's been a lot of evidence that has been found in biology, where they call it convergent evolution also. This is another name for this, convergent evolution, where you have two completely distinct species, like let's say a species of dolphin. And then you have a certain kind of land mammal or whatever, And there are certain solutions to evolutionary stresses that are arrived at in these two completely distinct species whose common ancestor is like millions of years in the past. And because it seemed to work in one species, evolution seems to adopt that solution in a completely unrelated species. So what Greer was suggesting is that if this type of causation, morphic resonance or formative causation, works irrespective of space-time, it could be the case that on planets that are slightly different from ours, I mean, not so radically different that you don't have anything more complex than bacteria, but in a planet slightly different from ours, because the anthropoid form worked here, or maybe worked on Mars 100 million years ago, the memory of the cosmos stores that solution and implements it again as an efficient solution in a different evolutionary context.
You're talking about like the dark matter memory.
Well, I'm saying it's that.
Right.
Sheldrake is an Anglican Christian. I got into an exchange with him once.
You're combining your theory with
So Sheldrake wouldn't want to believe this, right? He thinks these forms exist in the mind of God, basically. He won't say that as a biologist, okay? But he's an Anglican Christian, so he thinks these forms, this memory that stores evolutionary solutions or stores suitable pharmaceutical crystallization formulas. He thinks that's like in the mind of God, basically. I think it's in the simulation. It's a computer system. When something works, the system remembers,
right,
and it's not going to waste processing power. Next time it sees something is grappling with the same problems, it remembers, oh, here was a solution to that. Let me implement it again.
Yeah.
So what Greer was trying to say is that it could just turn out that the 2 arms, 2 legs, brain on top of it is a very efficient solution.
Yep.
And so the system remembers that, and it implements that solution on another planet, in another galaxy, right? Halfway across the universe.